Hello guys and welcome back to Mental Health Mondays. So for today's video I thought I would talk about perfectionism. Perfectionism is something I've struggled with for as long as I can remember. It's something that I still struggle with, and I just think it's something that most people with mental illness, if not like just everyone, struggles with. So I thought I would just talk about my experience with it and give you guys some tips on how to tackle it. So for me, perfectionism goes across multiple categories. I have to be perfect in my academics, in my work, in social situations. I'm always worried that I'm not funny enough, intelligent enough, entertaining enough, that people find me boring. And also in the past with things like sports and just other activities like playing the piano and stuff like that. My parents have never ever put any pressure on me to be perfect at these activities. It has all come from me, and it stemmed from an instant when I was younger, when I made a mistake and I was ridiculed for it. And ever since then I kind of made it my mission to then just be perfect in every single way, because that meant that I was a good person, like a worthy person. In school everything had to be perfect. Even when we were doing group projects, I would literally be the one that would take it home and do the PowerPoint in my way that I thought it needed to be done, like to do it perfect. Even if it was just a random homework or a random task, I had to do it perfectly. During my GCSEs I made myself very ill by overworking myself and just wanting to get perfect grades. My aim was to go to Oxford or Cambridge, and they told us at this point that we had to get 5 A stars in our GCSEs to be able to be on with the chance of going. I ended up getting 4 A stars, and then my history and my maths were both a mark off A stars. In the end I got 4 A stars, 7 A's and 2 B's, and for me that wasn't good enough. It wasn't perfect because I hadn't got the 5 A stars. In the end I did still end up being able to like go on the track to go into like Oxford or Cambridge, but yeah, anyway, that was me at school. As my mental illness got worse, this idea of perfectionism got worse, and this idea with me, so I have borderline personality disorder. I have very black and white thinking, so everything has to be perfect or it's a disaster, and one small thing can like completely throw that out of balance. Like if I do something wrong, then that means that I'm a completely terrible and unworthy person, which obviously is not the case. But if I wasn't perfect in the past, then that is kind of what would lead to things like self-harm, because I wouldn't feel worthy enough and I would hate myself. So yeah, I just really struggled with living up to these extremely high standards that I have set for myself, which I will never live up to. Like I will never live up to that, and it's like this constant struggle. My psychiatrist actually tells me this story often about, I think it's a Greek myth, about a guy named Sisyphus. Not sure if that's how you pronounce it, but he was eternally condemned to push a heavy rock up to the top of the mountain, and of course he would push it and it would fall back down, push it and it would fall back down. This is a metaphor for perfectionism. You're never gonna get there, and it's just gonna leave you feeling angry and frustrated and stressed out. Nowadays I am getting better at it. I've learned lots of coping techniques and stuff in the past, which I don't always use. I just think it's difficult because it's so ingrained in me, like so ingrained, and like through the process of CBT I've managed to kind of, yeah, I would say I've definitely made progress with it. Like in the past I would always have to look perfect when I like went out. Nowadays I'm quite happy to go out without any makeup, and my skin's really bad at the moment, so I consider that a real achievement. I mean, I'm so anxious when I go out and I'm so scared that someone's gonna see me and think, oh my god, she looks so ugly. But that hasn't happened, and I don't self-harm anymore, so that is another huge step. So I thought I would chat to you guys about a few coping mechanisms. This is all things that I have done in therapy, so I just thought I would relay them to you, and hopefully they will help you as well. The first tip is going to be a quote from a Leonard Cohen song. Now this sounds really weird, but basically my psychiatrist loves bringing up this quote. It is a really good quote, and there's lots of articles on it online actually, because it's a very, very philosophical section. So there's a section in a song that he writes that says, "Ring the bells that can still ring, forget your perfect offering, there is a crack in everything, that's how the light gets in." So what I interpret it to mean, I mean there's different interpretations out there, but what I think, I mean I've written notes on it down here in my notebook, is that when things go wrong and when things don't go how you planned, aka against your perfectionism, that is how we grow. The bad times, the really, really shit times that we have to go through, this is how we get new ideas and new ways of life, and these cracks, aka imperfections, kind of give us a glimpse through to a new, better life. I mean, you may not obviously realize it at the time when you're going through a hard time, but yeah, I just think it's important to remember that sometimes things not going right can actually be beneficial to you, because if everything went perfectly, then you wouldn't learn and you wouldn't grow. Not everything works out in life, not everyone's gonna like you, not everyone likes the same things as you, and you need to realize that that is okay. Tip number 2 is to recognize your perfectionism. I think this is kind of like the key one. So for me, what my psychiatrist got me to do was to write down a list of my perfectionism. So literally just take a day or a week or however long you want to monitor it for, and write down at the end of the day or at the time just your perfectionistic thinking. For me at the moment, this is pretty hard because I have it so ingrained in my brain that I wake up and I kind of have these expectations without even, like, I literally wake up and I have expectations for the day without even having gotten out of bed, and then I just lie in bed and I just get myself into such a state, and I just think like perfectionism is actually such a hindrance because it causes so much anxiety and stress, and you end up doing the opposite and procrastinating. But yeah, so you can note down things like black and white thinking that I spoke about earlier, i.e. anything less than perfection is a failure. You can note down things like catastrophic thinking, which I do all the time. This is like, say, if I make a mistake at work, I'm not going to be able to survive being humiliated. You've got predictions, which I literally spend my whole day doing, predicting. Like even this video, I'm filming it quite late on and predicting that I'm not going to get it up on time, that no one's really going to like it, the views are going to be really low, all of that. Even if that's the case, so what? I caught myself and I was like, who is making these standards? Like seriously, because they need to chill out. Like it's me, and I shouldn't be so hard on myself. I find actually doing a diary of predictions really useful as well, like doing the predictions versus the outcome. So like a prediction and then the outcome is actually not what you predicted, and then you can kind of be like, ha, perfectionism told you. And then finally, another thing that's worth noting down is should statements. I should be doing this, I should be doing that. I personally, on a daily basis, feel like I should be keeping on top of my housework, all my chores, as well as working, marketing myself, pushing out videos, making new content. At the moment, like Christmas content, out shooting photos of Christmassy outfits, like just all this stuff, and I can't physically actually do that. So saying I should be able to do this and then giving a kind of unrealistic expectation is definitely an example of perfectionism. I think writing a diary really, really helps you put it into perspective, and for me it kind of shrinks those things that are in your mind because they're just constantly like there, and seeing them on paper makes them not seem as huge. Number 3 is to practice being less perfect. When I first started seeing my current psychiatrist, which was probably about 3 years ago now, he set me the challenge to turn up to therapy wearing the most ridiculous outfit I could find. And even though like by then we'd had a few sessions, so I'd got to know him and I knew that, you know, he's a psychiatrist, so he can't judge me, he set me this task, whatever. I found it so difficult back then. I found it so difficult. I turned up in like unmatching shoes, trackies, unbrushed hair, makeup like down my face. Yeah. It wasn't a pretty sight, but that was all to kind of tackle this idea that I don't have to look perfect all the time, and that I don't know, I think for me it's like I think of other people's opinions and I think, oh my god, what do they think of me? Do I look stupid? So he sets me tasks all the time to practice being less perfect, and I specifically remember one session where we spoke about it, and I told him what I had coming up that week and what I was worried about, and he gave me the task to, number one, let my car get messy. That's one of the things, like I get if my flat or my car is messy, which it is a lot, so I'm worried about it a lot, then I feel like I need to like sort it out and it's like in the back of my mind. And then also to not make as much effort to look perfect when going out, which actually, like, looking back on it, that was maybe about 2 years ago, and I've got so much better at that now. I've got so much better at getting ready quickly. I still do suffer with, I think pretty much every girl can relate to this, if something goes wrong and you're getting ready for a night out, like your eyelash doesn't stick on or whatever, there's a wardrobe malfunction, you're like, no, that's it, I'm not going out. I'm not going out. If I don't look how I imagine to look, then I'm not going out. And that is so silly, because you can't ruin your night out just because of how you look. Another thing is to actually mess up on purpose. So like for me, that would be to accidentally drop a credit card or some money or something on the floor in public to then have to pick it up. Something that I would usually be embarrassed doing. Practicing doing that can really help you. And also like going to the supermarket in your pajamas and your slippers. I've done things like that to challenge, you know, this idea that you have to look perfect and not caring as much about what people think of you. Number 4 is really important, because I find there's such a huge correlation with perfectionism and self-worth and like just confidence in general. When my confidence and my self-worth is up, my anxiety and all of these like ideas of perfectionism is lower. Like this voice in my head that's telling me to be perfect all the time is a lot quieter when I'm more confident. We need to learn to accept ourselves, flaws and all, and that is, for someone that's struggling with mental illness, probably one of the most difficult things, because, well, for me, I did and I still do have such a low self-worth and perception of myself, even though I know that I've achieved so much and I do consider myself to be a good person. I'm still so hard on myself. But flaws are what make us who we are. You don't want to be perfect all the time, because, you know, your life wouldn't be how it was today if things didn't happen. I wouldn't be sat here making videos if my life was perfect. Self-worth is not all or nothing, like I spoke about earlier. If you make one mistake, that doesn't mean that your whole self-worth is erased. So what I think is important in terms of building up self-worth is to write down positive things. So write down 10 positive things about yourself, and then write down daily positive things about your day. Positive things that you've done, that you've achieved. Often we overlook these and we think, in the words of Ariana Grande, thank you next. Often we do things and we achieve things and we forget to congratulate ourselves for them, because we're too busy searching for the next thing to be anxious about, for the next keyhole to fit our anxious key in, because we're constantly searching for something to criticize ourselves on. So when we think about the positives, we're gonna start to tackle that. And finally, tip number 5 is to sever the connection with feeling like a good person if you get everything done. I came to this realization that, for example, with my to-do list, I feel like I have to do everything on that to-do list to feel like a worthy, good enough person. I just have this warped view that I have to act perfectly and do everything perfectly, and that makes me, you know, worthy. And I really don't think in this case me getting my to-do list done makes me a good person. Other things that I've done in life is what makes me a good person, not the fact that I can keep on top of my work, which I can't because I always make ridiculous to-do lists. You do not have to try and be perfect at everything. Your best is enough. You are good enough. Even if you make mistakes, that is how you are going to learn. People who are perfectionists obviously have a drive to want to do good and to want to, you know, live the best life and do the best that they can possibly do. So think of it as a positive that you actually have that drive. Stop this idea that you are not doing enough and stop beating yourself up for it. That's one of the most important things that I, you know, try and tell myself, is that I am doing enough. It's hard to believe, it really is hard to believe when I think I should be doing 100 million things in my day. But yeah, it's exhausting. It exhausts your mind and your body trying to be perfect all the time. And literally just having spoken through this on this video, I feel a lot calmer. So yeah, I really hope that these tips did help you. Please do let me know in the comments below what you thought of this video. Are you a perfectionist? I'm pretty sure most of us in today's society are, because I feel like there's such a high standard to live up to. If you did like this video, then please do give it a thumbs up, and if you're new here, then make sure you click the subscribe button down below and click the bell so you know when I am going to be uploading. But at the moment, my upload schedule is Mondays and Thursdays at 5 PM. So yeah, I will see you guys on Thursday for a new video, and for now I'm sending love to all of you. Goodbye.